I used to joke that Frank was emotionally unavailable in the same way some buildings are historical landmarks. Technically open to the public, but you're not supposed to touch anything, and every door feels locked. Everyone knew it. Our friends, his coworkers, even his exes, plural, had warned me in their own subtle ways. Frank didn't date. He didn't linger. He didn't let things get messy. And yet, the night that ruined that reputation for both of us started with something painfully ordinary. It was just supposed to be a few beers. Frank and I had known each other for almost 2 years by then. We met through work, same company, different departments, and somehow ended up becoming part of the same tight little circle that grabbed drinks on Fridays and complained about deadlines. He was the kind of guy people gravitated toward without him ever trying. Tall, broad shoulders, permanently calm expression, dark hair always slightly unkempt like he didn't bother checking mirrors. The kind of man who listened more than he spoke. I noticed him immediately. I told myself I didn't. Frank, on the other hand, noticed nothing. Or at least that's what he wanted everyone to believe. He never flirted, never crossed lines. If someone hinted at something more, he shut it down with a polite smile and a quick subject change. Not really looking for anything, was his go-to line. He said it so often it sounded rehearsed. So I learned to keep him in a safe box in my head. Frank the friend. Frank the coworker. Frank the guy who will never be mine. That worked until the night it didn't. We were the last two at the bar. Everyone else had peeled off one by one, blaming early meetings or partners waiting at home. Frank and I stayed, mostly because neither of us felt like ending the night yet. The place had quieted down. Music low, bartender wiping the same glass for the 5th time. "You good to head out soon?" Frank asked casually, tapping his empty beer bottle. "Yeah," I said. "I mean, not really, but yeah." He smirked. "That bad of a week?" I shrugged. "That bad of a life?" He laughed softly at that, the kind of laugh he didn't do often. It made his shoulders loosen, his guard drop just a fraction. I noticed things in that moment I trained myself not to. The way his forearms flexed when he leaned on the bar, the faint crease between his eyebrows when he thought too much. "Want to grab one more somewhere quieter?" he asked. I hesitated. This was new. Frank didn't usually extend nights. "Your place?" I asked before I could overthink it. He paused. Just a beat too long. "Yeah," he said finally. "That's fine." That pause should have warned me. His apartment was exactly what you'd expect: clean, minimal, almost sterile. Gray couch, dark wood shelves. No personal photos except one framed picture of a mountain landscape. No signs of anyone else ever really staying. "Beer or whiskey?" he asked. "Whatever you're having." He poured us both whiskey. Neat. We sat on opposite ends of the couch at first, talking about nothing important. Work gossip, a mutual friend's bad dating choices. The kind of conversation that feels safe because it doesn't ask for anything. But something was different. I felt it in the air, thick and unsettled. Frank wasn't distracted like usual. He was focused on me, watching me when I talked, holding eye contact a little longer than necessary. At one point, I caught him staring. "What?" I asked, half smiling. "Nothing," he said quickly, taking a sip. Too quickly. Silence settled between us, not awkward heavy. Every message felt like proof of something fragile but real. Frank wasn't pulling away, he was circling closer. We started meeting outside of bars, coffee shops, long walks after work, quiet dinners that felt suspiciously like dates even when neither of us called them that. He was still guarded, still private, but there was a softness there now, a willingness. One night, about a week later, we were back at my place, sitting on the floor with takeout containers between us, shoes kicked off, music low in the background. "You're different with me?" I said before I could stop myself. Frank paused mid-bite. "Different how?" "Present," I said. "You don't drift." He looked down at his hands, then back up at me. "Because you don't push." That made me laugh quietly. "You think I don't want to?" He smiled at that. A real one. "I know you do." There it was. Awareness. Honesty. Later, when we were stretched out on the couch, his head resting against my shoulder, He went quiet for a long time. I didn't rush him. I was learning that silence was where Frank did his hardest work. I wasn't always like this, he said eventually. I tilted my head toward him. Unavailable? Closed, he corrected. I learned early that letting people in meant losing them. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. Some truths didn't require details. I don't know how to promise things, he continued. But I don't want this to be temporary. My chest tightened. Then don't treat it like it is. He shifted, turning to face me. His hand found mine, fingers threading together slowly, deliberately. I'm trying, he said. That's the most honest thing I can give you. I squeezed his hand. It's enough. And I meant it. Because what Frank was offering wasn't grand gestures or certainty. It was effort, vulnerability, presence. Things that mattered far more. When he stayed the night again, no hesitation this time, I realized something quietly monumental. The man everyone thought was unreachable wasn't unreachable at all. He was just waiting for someone who wouldn't run the moment he stopped pretending to be strong. The first real crack didn't come during a fight. It came during a completely normal Tuesday. Frank was supposed to come over after work. Nothing special leftovers in my fridge. A dumb show queued up. The quiet comfort we'd been building piece by piece. I texted him around 7. You close? No response. At 8, I told myself he was stuck in traffic. At 9, I tried not to stare at my phone like it could betray me. By 10, the old, familiar voice in my head started whispering. This is it. This is where he pulls back. When my phone finally buzzed, my chest tightened. I'm sorry. Can we talk tomorrow? That was all. No explanation. No reassurance. I didn't reply right away. I needed to breathe through the disappointment, through the instinct to protect myself by pretending I didn't care. Instead, I typed, yeah, tomorrow's fine. He came over the next evening looking exhausted. Not just tired, worn down. His shoulders were tense. His usual calm replaced with something restless and sharp around the edges. I didn't handle last night well, he said the moment the door closed behind him. I crossed my arms, leaning against the counter. No, you didn't. He nodded, accepting that without defensiveness. I panicked. About what? I asked. About how easy this has started to feel, he said quietly. That landed harder than I expected. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once like he used to. I had this moment at work where someone asked what I was doing after hours, and I almost said your name, like it was obvious, like it mattered. I watched him carefully. And that scared you? Yes, he said immediately. No hesitation. Because once people know you matter to me, I don't get to pretend I'm detached anymore. I took a step closer. Frank, disappearing isn't the same as being careful. He met my eyes. I know. And I hated myself for it all night. That surprised me. You did. I kept checking my phone, he admitted, half hoping you'd call, half terrified you would. I exhaled slowly. I'm not asking you to have this all figured out. I know, he said, but I don't want to hurt you while I'm figuring it out. That honesty that was new, raw, unpolished. So what do we do? I asked. We stop pretending this is casual, he said. And we agree not to disappear when it gets uncomfortable. I searched his face. You can do that? I don't know, he said softly. But I want to try. With you. That was the most vulnerable thing he'd said yet, not a promise, but an intention. I nodded. Then talk to me next time. Even if all you can say is I'm scared. He let out a breath that sounded like relief. Okay. When he pulled me into a hug, it wasn't desperate or clinging. It was steady, grounded. The kind of embrace that says I'm here, even when it's hard. And for the first time, I realized something important. Frank wasn't just opening up to me. He was learning how. It happened about a month in the moment that made everything real. We were at a small get-together at a friend's place. Nothing wild. Too much wine, bad music, people talking over each other. Frank wasn't big on these things, but he came anyway. With me. That alone felt significant. He stayed close most of the night, a quiet presence at my side. Not clingy. Just there. Someone asked, "So how do you two know each other?" It was innocent. Casual. I felt Frank tense beside me. This was usually where he stepped away. Changed the subject. Let ambiguity do the work for him. Instead, before I could answer, he said, "We're seeing each other." Just like that. The room didn't explode. No dramatic reaction. Couple of nods. A smile. Someone saying, "About time," like they'd seen it coming. But my chest felt like it was cracking open. I looked at Frank. His jaw was tight, eyes steady, like he'd braced himself for impact that never came. Later, out on the balcony, I finally said it. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," he replied. "I wanted to." The city hummed below us, lights blurring together. He leaned against the railing, then turned to face me fully. "I've spent years making sure no one expected anything from me," he said. "Tonight, I realized I don't want that anymore." I didn't joke, didn't deflect. "That's a big step for you." He nodded. It scared the hell out of me. I smiled softly. "You didn't run." He stepped closer, resting his forehead against mine like he had that first night. "I'm tired of running." That was the night things changed. Not because everything suddenly became easy, but because Frank stopped hiding. From our friends. From the world. From himself. It's been a year since that night. Not the dramatic kind of year, no sweeping movie moments. No constant fireworks. Just real life. Mornings that start too early. Evenings spent half asleep on the couch. Arguments about nothing important and conversations that somehow turn into everything. Frank still isn't loud about his feelings. He probably never will be. He doesn't post us. He doesn't overshare. He still pauses before answering questions that matter. But he doesn't disappear anymore. That's how I measure it now. He shows up when things are uncomfortable. When work overwhelms him. When old fears resurface. He says things like, "I don't know how to say this yet, but I'm trying." And somehow that's enough. The first time he introduced me as his boyfriend to someone who mattered to him, I saw his hand shake just slightly. He didn't pull it back. He tightened his grip instead. Later that night, I asked him if it still scared him. He nodded. "Yeah, but not enough to lose you." Sometimes I catch him watching me when he thinks I'm not looking. There's still that quiet intensity, that thoughtful distance, but now it's paired with something warmer. "You know," he said almost casually, "I used to think being unavailable made me safe." I turned toward him. "And now I think it just made me lonely." He kissed my forehead after that. Not like a promise, like a truth. Frank was never unreachable. He was just waiting for a night brave enough to crack him open and someone patient enough not to mistake fear for indifference. And I stayed. Not because he changed overnight, but because finally he chose not to run.